Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. Today's episode is presented by Golf Dojo. Your space, your time, your game. Bring your game to Golf Dojo, Western New York's best indoor golf experience. Visit mygolfdojo.com. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everybody out there, as always, for watching, listening, following, subscribing. I do appreciate you all. Today is our Monday episode. Boy, oh boy, do we got a lot to talk about. If you happen to be watching this on the video side, we're actually live right now for a third time. Maybe the third time will be a charm. I have Joe from Queens on with me. Last two times, there's been some kind of technical difficulties, and it's really sucked. But so far, so good. It hasn't cut out yet, man. What's going on, dude? How you doing? As you crack that beer. What's up?
I'm not looking forward to this podcast. For starters, I'm worried that we're gonna crap out the live stream, and then you're gonna lose your mind on here for 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna have to I'm gonna be like, okay, I gotta go because I don't want to get, I don't want to see angry Pat. I mean, we always see pandering Pat, angry Pat. I'm a little scared of.
Yeah, we're talking it too.
Yes, we've broke it up because of angry Pat. But then the other thing too is we're talking about preseason football. I saw the rundown. I am not thrilled going over. 80% of it is about the preseason game we just saw 2 days ago. If you're listening on Monday or now on Twitter, which was last night. So, Pat's still looking for people who want to co-host this show. So people, if you want, send your resumes in because I want to be off of this show this entire month of August because I can't stand talking about preseason football. But
real quick, and by the way,
ahead.
so we got a lot of Bill stuff, primarily Bill stuff to get to today. And some of it is preseason based on Saturday's game, but a lot of it is big picture stuff and things way beyond just that game. Joe, it's funny? A couple of weeks ago, people were saying Joe Andreesson. You couldn't even pronounce the guy's name, Joe Andreesson. Big game on Saturday. We're going to talk about that, what it means.
Going to the Hall of Fame, preseason Hall of Fame.
Keon Coleman, some discourse going on the social media on Sunday after a kind of a shaky, I don't want to say a shaky game, but a shaky play anyway on Saturday. I want to talk about that. Lots of Bill stuff, like I said, we're going to get to today. Real quick, though, before we get into talking Bills in the show, I got to throw a shout out. So we're recording this Sunday night. Again, on the video side, if you happen to be around, we're doing this live. Earlier in the afternoon, I went to Resurgence. There was a Bills Mafia Babes meetup, and it's really cool, man. There are about 150, 200 women there, and a bunch of guys too. And it was a lot of fun. And I saw something that kind of blew me away. There was a woman there, and I got to shout her out. By the way, shout out to the Mafia Babes. It was a great event, a lot of fun, really organized, a lot of cool vendors there, beer, all kinds of shit like that. But anyway, this woman, Rita, was there, and she is celebrating her 101st birthday. And I see her, and I hear about this, and I introduced myself real quick and just said, I'm a fan of hers. In all seriousness, dude, athletes and stuff like that, we talk about them, we admire them to some extent, but I'm like, whatever with athletes. But somebody who's lived to be 101 years old, that's wild to me. You know what I mean? Those are the people that I'm kind of like starstruck by. And I was totally like almost like fanboying just being around her, watching her smile and interact with so many people coming up to her, wishing her a happy birthday, giving her a hug.
Did you buy her a shot?
Like that. I did not buy her a shot. I didn't.
You could have bought, buy her a drink, dude. She's 101 years old. You could have bought her something.
I'm not sure that she could handle shots of vodka at 101 years old. But that was really cool.
That's pretty
man.
cool. Yeah, okay. I salute to her.
Yeah, you live to be 101 years old. That's pretty wild to me. So congratulations to Rita. And like I said, that was a fun event. I had to pick up, by the way, if you're watching this, Resurgence Brewery.
Oh, look at
Have you been there in Buffalo?
Chilling.
Yes, yeah, I'm not. Look, they didn't pay me. They didn't sponsor me or nothing. I'm just telling you that on my own.
Look at you shilling.
That's my spot. That's my spot. No sponsorships there. No, no money given to me for saying that. But have you been to Resurgence? That's probably my favorite place in Buffalo now.
yes, I've been to most of the breweries in Buffalo. When I come back home, I do go to the breweries. Unlike you, who goes to some tavern on the freaking green somewhere.
Hey,
or whatever.
relax.
But I kid because I care. Yeah, I've been to that location. They have good beer. It's a really nice spot. Like in terms
It's
of
good
they've had
vibe.
wedding. Yeah, they've had wedding receptions. I think
Yeah,
there
I've
as
been
well,
to, I've
like
been to a wedding there.
upstairs. So yeah, it's a good place. I think they follow me on Twitter. Maybe I'll DM them and ask them if they want to be a sponsor for the show, so I can
Do
get
that,
something out of
man.
it.
Hook that shit up. I love going there, man. Get a couple bucks off their
Yeah, I'm
you
sure
know
you'll
me.
give me
I'm
none
cheap.
of that.
Yeah, I'm a
you'll give
cheap,
me
I'm a
none.
cheap domestic drinker. Not a lot of fun paying $8-9 for a pint of craft beer. But anyway,
No.
on a serious note, I do like that. All right, so listen, for this game too Saturday, I got to tell you this too. Saturday morning, actually, I went to Imperial Lunch, not morning, but afternoon. Got a lunch, or they have a lunch special. So I went there and I grabbed that. And I was walking around and I saw the owner. I know the owner obviously very well. And this God's honest truth. I go up to him, fist bump and say, how you doing? And he has told me before, I watch your show all the time. And I hear that a lot. And most of the times I'm like, you know what? You're full of shit. I appreciate the sentiments. Not him. Just don't want anybody specifically. I'm like, but you probably don't watch it. Anyway, he comes up to me and he's talking about the show. He goes, boy, that Joe from Queens is quite the character. I really like listening to him. I'm like, outwardly, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Inwardly, like, are you fucking serious right now? This is like the whole week long. I've been telling you about I don't know what it is. You've been doing this podcast with me on and off for pretty much since its inception back in 2018. And now all of a sudden, over the last couple of weeks, I've been getting a lot of this shit, man. This Joe from Queens guy, most of it's good. It's pretty wild, man. I don't know how I feel about that. You're kind of, again, I said this last week, you're stealing my shine a little bit here.
Stealing your heat. I appreciate that from look,
the owner of Imperial.
Well, he should
not
hook me
the
up
manager.
with pizza.
Huh?
You owe me pizza. You owe me beer for being on this podcast. We went out for one remote once to Sunny Reds, I think it was, whatever the Chiefs bar was. It was you, me, and Yurden. You got me a Bud Light and you called it a day.
Casey's
whatever.
Black Rock Tavern.
Thank you. Whatever. You got me a Bud Light and you called it a day. I know you've given like Jay Skursky buffets of wings before you guys have taped. I don't get anything. I get a freaking Bud Light, and they're like, "Yeah, we gotta go. Sorry, I gotta go home and like rake the leaves or whatever." So, anyways, I appreciate.
I've seen you twice. Well, one time it was actually you weren't on the show. It was Amherst Ale House, and you still to this day accuse me of big leaguing you.
You totally big leagued me. I saw you after I was on your podcast for 2 years, and you like didn't care to see me, and I was like, "All right," because I think you thought I was going to ambush your live spot with Perino and Talbot, and I was going to like steal your heat or something. I was like, dude, like you have to like he didn't know me. It's kind of dicked up, man. But it's all good. I forgive. But look, I appreciate anyone who likes us or listens to us or hates us. It's fine. I don't like getting compliments. I don't really like receiving them either. So yeah, thank you for all of our listeners and
yeah, for sure. It is I love feedback. I'm getting more and more feedback.
Don't get too full of yourself when you get feedback, buddy, because I know you. You get some good people telling you how great you are, and then your ego's out of control. Okay, so don't get too cocky.
Let me ask you a question. Why don't I actually get into some football stuff now before we talk Bills? We want to talk Houston, Texans. They had a preseason game this weekend. They were playing the Giants. This caught fire in Buffalo, and normally I would dismiss this as whatever, but it was a little bit irritating. I want to get your opinion on it. A local announcer, at first I told you it was David Carr. It was not David Carr. I found that out. It was somebody Harris. He's a local Houston Texans guy. CJ Stroud threw a nice pass over the middle, kind of a slant to Stephon Diggs. And the guy on the air quite literally said, I'm only slightly paraphrasing here, that that's not a throw that Josh Allen could make, that only CJ Stroud could make to Stephon Diggs and not Josh Allen. And I guess the theme was, yo, man, Josh is catching strays out here, not even playing in the game. And that felt a little bit ridiculous. And I know that Bills Mafia and some media people and stuff like that always come to the Bills rescue when nationally people say something negative. But in this case, Joe, don't you think that was a pretty dumb statement, especially when I know you saw Warren Sharp, a very smart football person, point out analytically that Josh Allen is quite literally the best quarterback in the entire NFL last year at that type of throw. What were your thoughts when you heard that, and the reaction too from people?
I did not really listen to it. I saw it going around. I saw a couple of content bros retweeting and were upset about it.
Mhm.
I didn't bother listening to it. Sorry. The main reason, and you're right, it was probably something that was wrong to say. Like, you just quoted what it was said, but I've seen this 1,000 times with being upset because this person said this or that person said that. It's the home team radio station or radio broadcast that was doing that. Okay, if you listen to the Bills,
TV, but yeah,
TV, but it's the local, like, it's produced by the Texans. Okay, I am sure when I watched the game on Saturday night with the Steelers, I had the Steelers broadcast team with Charlie Batch was the freaking color guy, and I forgot who the announcer was.
Oh, really?
But, Charlie
Batch. Wow.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, he played for
That's
the Steelers
an old name. I haven't heard
for
that
like a hot minute, and he's like I was like, okay, hi Charlie. But anyways, and they were homers, and I'm sure Tasker was the same way for the Bills. Like, that's just how it always is. They throw shade that's normally a lie or not, and they always throw it to each other. And yeah, it's completely wrong, but it's the boy that cries wolf, because it happens every day on Bills X and all that shit. And I'm usually just like, I don't care. Like, I'm just numb to it now. If I didn't hear it the first 2,000 times, I would maybe be like, oh, what an idiot. I mean, and the guy was wrong. I mean, Warren Sharp took it to task. Good for him. I don't think it's worth taking that to task. It's just silly. But it gets people. It gets a lot of people's juices flowing. You get ratio, and then you're freaking. It's the first tweet you see when you log in for the day, and you see it up there because people are quote tweeting it, and it doesn't bother me because, again, it's a Homer network that was putting that on. It's the freaking local and they're just going to bullshit it. I'm sure I could go through all the Bills stuff and when they produce their broadcast and they're just making the Bills out to be great.
Later on, I want to talk about the Bills broadcast because there was something to come from it that really got under my skin. It wasn't so much the sentiment from a comment from somebody of note, but the way it was said, that really, it did not sit well with me. But look, Stefon Diggs, every time he does something in Houston, we didn't uncover any stones when we said this quite a while ago, but Stefon Diggs, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, anytime any of those guys do anything good or bad, it's going to be discussed ad nauseum, especially in this market.
Yeah, it's going to be, look, you and I both lived through like the fear bunker of Pat Mahomes and like Deshaun Watson when Josh Allen wasn't great yet. That's what's going to be like with Diggs and with Worthy. When they do something well, it's going to be like, oh, look at this. Like, it's going to be, I mean, I'll probably be one of those people who is like, look at this. I'm going to try not to do that every time. Like, I see Stefon Diggs make a 25-yard catch. I'm going to give it some time. I'm going to give it like a month before I start getting really like flustered if he's kicking ass and we got, we're relying on fucking, snails at turtles on the outside to break the freaking, that's when I'll probably get annoyed. But other than that, it's going to be a little bit like that. There's a fear bunker for Diggs. There's a fear bunker for Worthy. And, and in turn, it's always, people like to, it's just how it always is on Bills.
Sure.
It's been that way forever.
I agree. So we're recording this Sunday. Monday podcast drop. Depending on when you listen to this, we might have more information, but I feel like Monday is going to be a very testy day potentially with the Buffalo Bills, because we're going to learn more about injuries, hopefully learn more about injuries. We all know that the Bills have not been in good injury shape, including Matt Milano, which I want to get into that in a second, because we had a pretty good conversation just last week on the show about him. But from an injury standpoint from this game in Pittsburgh, which always ends up being more important than anything you see on the field for sure. But Mitch Trubisky hurt his knee. He didn't finish the game. Quentin Morris, I thought looked really good, by the way, tight end. He hurt his shoulder. MVS got carted out, hurt his neck. Now, there were reports on Sunday that the x-rays were negative and that he just sprained his neck. So obviously that's good news for MVS and MVS fans. But he left the game hurt. Javon Solomon, who I thought was great, and we're going to talk about him a little bit. I know you don't give a shit about the preseason, but he stood out to me. He left with a calf injury. And Austin Johnson is a guy who I think has been an important addition to this team. We've talked about him some, the backup defensive tackle. In fact, we had a pretty good conversation with him just last week on the show. He left with a calf injury. So even more injuries added right now to a Buffalo Bills team that's been hit relatively hard by them already, including Matt Milano. Last week, we literally had a conversation about him, and, we 6 guys that need to be ready to step up. One of them was Dorian Williams. Sure enough, like the next day or 2 days later, when the Bills went back to practice, we found out they met Milano IR, and he's probably going to be out to at least December. I want to ask you about this because I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it. I know that I told you about it, but Tim Graham,
yeah,
on his
I
show,
did
Tim
listen.
Graham and Friends. I always like listening to that show. Tim, I thought, had a really interesting take it was right at the beginning of his show last Friday about the Matt Milano injury. And his take was that it's a loss, but it's not necessarily a big of loss as many people think. And Tim kind of got into the fact that Dorian Williams is prepared for this role. This is happening in the preseason as opposed to London week 5. So it's not like he's being completely thrown into the fire. He's still got a couple weeks to prepare now as a starter. And also in terms of Matt Milano, an unfortunate reality that with these injuries he's had, we've seen it with Trey White. We've seen it with Von Miller. We were just assuming that Matt Milano is going to be out there week 1 and you're going to get all pro 2022 Matt Milano, one of the best 3 linebackers in the NFL. It's not necessarily the case. And Tim kind of got into that. Again, these guys come back from injuries like this slow. Milano's 30 years old. He wasn't going to go out there and be a scrub, but it was no given that he was going to be the Matt Milano that we've seen previous to that. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it's stuff I said before to you. I had concerns about Milano because of his age. He has been banged up for different parts of his career, and he's played a lot of snaps. He started right when he was a rookie. He played right away, and he was out for the year. And you don't know how he's going to come back and be. And Tim's right in that regards. Like he could be slow to come back, et cetera, all those things. I mean, we're not going to know, unfortunately, because we never really saw him play. We didn't get that one. We couldn't get that like week 1, week 2. Let's see how he looks because we don't know how well he was going to look because he didn't play really at all this preseason or at all.
Right.
For that point. My thing is this. I view it as it's a big loss in comparison to last year because this roster just isn't better than it was last year.
I agree with that.
And that's the difference. Like last year, they can have other guys pick up the pace.
Yep.
Offense, Diggs, specifically, or Gabe Davis even. And then on defense, it was a different unit last year than it is this year. There's a lot of question marks with the secondary coming into this season. There's a ton. I know Hyde and Poyer didn't have their best years last year, but they were still cogs that have been there forever. And they weren't the same, but you knew what you got with them in terms of like being a safety net. Yeah, they weren't making as much plays as they used to be. But then you have Milano here, who I thought was going to be a little bit of an X factor. Like we've talked about, like if he was an all-pro this year, then it's like, okay, great. Then you don't have to worry too much about the transition that the defense is going through, specifically in the secondary. You get him and you get Bernard together. It seems like a great duo. And yeah, you're right. We're not guaranteed. We don't know if he was going to be good or not. I mean, again, he's 30. I can't predict if he's going to come back from injuries. He's had a couple of these, he's been banged up, as I said.
I think you could predict he was going to be good, but all pro level, the level that we were accustomed to see him playing when he was in the lineup, that's where it starts to get a little bit dicey.
Well, yeah, we don't know, but if he was going to be that way, but it's a big loss. I mean, I don't blame fans for being a little bit panicked by it because look, the Bills don't have, as of right now, as many splash players as they have in the past. They just don't. And I know we could just say Josh. Right. We could just say Josh Allen's Michael Jordan and everything's gonna be fine because we have Josh Allen. I get that, fine. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks in this league that are on teams that all around have like legit dudes there. And there's a lot of people on this squad that have to prove themselves. And you can listen to the hype bros, and they're going to hype everyone up, like we're going to get into, because half this podcast is going to be about hype guys. But I think it's a big loss because he was a proven commodity they had. And yes, is there a possibility he could have been like done and crappy, or he could have been old? Yeah, absolutely. There's a possibility of that. But last time we saw him, he was still playing at a high level. Until he got hurt. So I think it's a big loss because, again, I don't respect the talent on this roster like I have in the past.
And that's fair. And I would say the depth is not proven like it was in the past. I mean, we've talked about this. Guys last year who were depth guys, Taylor Rapp, David Edwards, Damar Hamlin. These guys, as of right now, are starters on this football team.
The entire wide receiving core is that way, basically.
Exactly. Khalil Shakir was a role player last year. Now you're counting on him to, you almost need him to have 75, 80 catches for that unit to be good. So I'm actually in complete agreement with you there. It's still a big blow. And I understand the mentality too, because look, I don't follow 31 other teams religiously, so I can't really speak on how their injury history has been for the last 3 or 4 years or so. But man, oh man, it just feels like with the Buffalo Bills, these injuries are just so big and devastating to some of their best players. And it sucks too, because this wasn't like in a game. This was literally, he was hitting a tackling dummy.
Yeah, and that's where right there, I when I see that or think about that, man, that tells me he's like, I'm not a doctor, but man, that feels like a breaking down injury. Like he's like a tackle dummy. Like when the fuck, and you're out until you're out for 4 months because of that. It's pretty crazy to me. So
real quick note too. I put it up on the comments. I don't know the validity of this. I personally haven't seen it, but I have not been paying much attention on Sunday. But someone commented that Cover One has reported that Quinton Morris has a torn pec. That would really suck. He's a core special teams player, and he's pretty good tight end too. He's their 10-3 on a team that uses a lot of 12 personnel. So if that is the case, that could be a blow to the Buffalo Bills. But anyway, all right. So I want to kind of get to Joe Andreesson right here. Okay. I mean, you want to talk about guys? Listen,
your hero.
He's not my hero, but
I'm fucking with you. Sorry.
Stock way up. All right. I mean, you want to talk about stock up, stock down, forget about stock trending up. This dude's stock is sky high right now. He sounds like a fun Cinderella story that would normally end. And I know year after year, you and I talk, and on this podcast or on Facebook, whatever we're talking, it's OTAs. This guy looks incredible. We did it with Chase Claypool at OTAs this season. Every single summer without fail, a guy looks really good in training camp, and you start dreaming about this as being an underdog story. This guy's going to come and make the Buffalo Bills and be a good football player. I get that. I understand that happens every single year. And this would be the perfect candidate for a quote unquote Cinderella story. Not only was the dude not drafted, he also was not signed after the draft either. He wasn't even an undrafted free agent signee. You know how right after the draft, hundreds of players around the league signed as undrafted free agents. He wasn't even that. He got a spot on this roster by having a rookie tryout. That's how he even got on this roster. He goes to camp. He's like the 7th string linebacker. Injuries and opportunities have presented themselves. And look, preseason game or not, Joe, and again, 9 out of 10 times at the end of the day, even if I'm trying to argue against you, I'll end up agreeing with you. But this dude didn't stand out in the second half against the threes out there for Pittsburgh. He started the game, and he did start because Terrell Bernard was held out for precautionary reasons, and Baylon Spector, who just can never stay healthy, he's hurt. Anyway, he gets a start. He's playing against the ones, and 12 tackles, 2 for a loss. See some clips on there. One play specifically, he threw the right guard. I can't remember the right guard's name, but he's a good starting right guard. And then he hunts down Jaylen Warren. I was like, holy shit, Jaylen Warren's a great running back. This guy, to me, and I don't know if you still believe it or not, but if you don't, I feel like you should at this point. This dude legitimately can make this football team. And I don't even know at this point, based on the film he's starting to put out there, that you could cut him and just think you're going to be able to stash him on the practice squad. I don't think that's a lock anymore. I think he's went from 0% chance of making the 53-man roster to at least 40% in the last 2 weeks. And last point, and I'm going to turn it over to you. If nothing else, even if this is just a little Cinderella story that's going to fizzle out in the next week or so, if nothing else, he got the call on Saturday night, and it's a local kid, Buffalo born, Lancaster High School, UB graduate. He got the call and he answered the bell as good as you could possibly answer a bell. So I'll pump for him. And I think he's going to make this football team. I truly do right now. I said a lot.
Did. I would say this is redoing the Marge Simpson Chanel dress, but I think it's like adding a brioche, maybe like whatever, like a bracelet to it. Look, it's a good story. There's no doubt about it. Like a Buffalo guy, we haven't had a God, when was the last time we had a Bills player from Buffalo like make the roster? Like, was it like Corey Graham? Maybe I was trying to think about that today. Like,
from Buffalo?
Yeah, like we had a home-time guy. It's been a while. Like Corey Graham is the last guy I can think of.
Off the top of my head, I that's the last one I could think of.
I can think of like
plenty of UB kids, but they weren't born in Jamon Harris. Well, he's borderline though. That's my guy, but he's borderline. He's been Graham, on the practice squad. But
but Graham played. I mean, and I have no idea if this guy's going to play or not.
Jody Forston, you got
could he make could he make the roster? Sure, I don't know. I just said sure, and I don't know at the same time. He's got it's a thin position at linebacker. You know, Milano's hurt. Spector is not very good. He gets hurt all the time, like you said.
Always hurt, man. I like the kid, but always hurt.
He does, like, if you look at his body, look like someone that can play special teams. Like, yes, he definitely has that like physicality, like he can play special teams. I don't know what else there is to say. I feel like I'm about to become. I'm going to lose my mind this week. I can tell. I can tell because everyone won't shut up. It's not going to shut up about this guy. And it's going to be like all the content bros are going to be breaking down his film, all 22, all 44.
That's already happening.
I can already see the local sports reporter is going to go and take this guy to Lenovo and make a pizza for some product placement shit and talk about life in Buffalo. It's going to be all of that. And I know I'm going to sit there and go, this is so boring. But I have to say, like, it's August. People are desperate for the new thing, and this guy could be like the ultimate preseason story. Like, yeah, it's a great story. I don't know, you know, he made some good plays on Saturday. I can't deny that, but it's preseason. It is vanilla schemes. It is against the Steelers that do not have a great offense at all. That first half was the worst first half I've watched since last week's game. You know, in terms of like in the preseason, just garbage. I want to kill everyone.
It has been painful to watch. It has been painful.
It's so bad
in a lot of ways.
I feel bad. I don't feel bad. I think everyone's a sucker and they shouldn't be watching any of this crap. But look, if he makes a team, great. It's a good story. I salute. I just don't think he's going to make an impact on this roster. The optics of it just don't.
It almost feels like it almost feels like it would be unprecedented. Again, not that a undrafted guy, an undrafted free agent becomes a great player. We see that happen all the time. Not all the time, but quite often. But a guy who wasn't even signed after the draft, the guy who made the team or, you know, got signed after a rookie tryout, that to me is wild. Yeah. But he really answered the bell. You got to look at it, you know, from the position. And if they're going to keep 5 or 6 linebackers, Bernard's obviously, he's making the team and starting. Dorian Williams is making a team and starting. Those are your locks.
Yeah.
After that, I don't know because.
But the thing is, they don't play their linebackers that often. Like they don't really run a traditional 4-3. I mean,
not often.
But they usually have an extra defensive back on the field. So
Baylon Spector gets hurt all the time. I feel like Joe Andreesson right now is right there neck and neck with Spector. And I don't know. I mean, put it this way: preseason or not, I saw as much or more from Andreessen on Saturday. Again, against vanilla or not, against starters, than I think I've ever seen from Baylon Spector. Olafocio is a 5th-round rookie, but he's been hurt all of camp, and he's done literally nothing. He played at the end of the game, which I always pay attention to that. Like, when are you playing in the preseason? Preseason might not matter, but when you're playing, I feel like that kind of does. Deion Jones is a 29-year-old veteran that they signed during the offseason. He's been okay. I think he can make the team. And then Nick Morrow is one of their first free agent signings from Philly, an inside linebacker. But he's been hurt. Again, he hasn't played yet in the preseason. He's barely been around at camp. So the opportunity, I feel like, is there for this kid to make
it's there. Team. But in the grand scheme of things, let me ask you this. Do you think it's going to matter? Like, is it going to help them in the regular season? Like, yeah, it'll be great. He makes the squad. Awesome. Is it going to matter? Like, is it going to matter? Like, do you think
it could? It could. You know, you hope it doesn't. But it could, because if you're on the roster, you're an injury away from being a starter. So it see it happen all the time.
You like the story. It's a fun story. He's looked
good. But it's becoming more than a Cinderella story now, though.
Sure. But you don't if he makes the roster, you don't because I can already assume there's going to be some morons who think this guy's going to like start or make an impact like on the defense. And I'm looking at the low hanging fruit here when I say that. Like, it's going to be your classic GR callers or whatever, some reply guy who's going to be like, this guy's Kiko Alonso 2.0 or whatever. But if you think And that's how I feel. Like, I just feel like, yeah, does he make the roster? Sure, I guess maybe. Is it going to matter in the broad scheme of things? Excuse me. I don't think so. But if it really does matter, like he makes it and he's like he starts, because of injuries, like you said, it's possible. But it's a good story. I'm happy for people to be excited about a hometown guy, Cinderella story, as I said. I just hope it doesn't go off the rails where the expectations become that this guy's should be starting.
He's the next Luke Kuechly. Stuff like that.
Yeah, like I don't want to hear that crap. And I know like a new guy comes in town, and I can already see the Y guy interviewing him and taking him to wing places in Buffalo and being like, this guy's a hometown guy and all that. And I'm sure you're gonna go and try to get his autograph and get him on the Talking Buffalo podcast if he retires or gets cut. But that's the only thing. Like I just hope people have a tempered expectation. Like it's a nice story. Like good for that dude. He made some plays. I'm skeptical. I've always been skeptical. As I said before, I've seen Nate Peterman look good against number ones and then like just falls on his face. And like a lot of guys this happens to. So, but we'll see. But don't like look, if you want to root for him to make the roster as the 52nd guy, great. But don't expect him to be like, freaking playing 30 defensive snaps a game or anything like that.
Well,
like it would be
being the 53rd guy would be an incredible story in itself. That's a Hollywood movie. Just making the team. Yes, it's being Rudy. A tryout player, a local kid, born and raised here, played high school football on the field. Yes. Went to the local college, even just making the roster. That is a movie in itself. It's becoming something more would be a bonus. But if you make the roster, you're one play away from. If he makes the roster, you're a Terrell Bernard injury away from him being the starting inside linebacker, probably on the team. Yeah. He could be a special teams contributor. Is he going to be Luke Kuechly? No.
All right. Well, whatever. I mean, okay. He could be Rudy. He could be Huck to a girl. Whatever. Like I great. Like I don't know. I still don't. I get the like. Oh, I hope he does well, but I just hope there isn't like any abundance of content dedicated to this guy this week. But if there is, I won't be. Well,
he was the best player on the team this past week, preseason game or not. He's the best.
Give him his flowers on Monday and then move on. Okay, until the next game. Okay,
he's going to get some flowers all week long, and they're playing a preseason game where I can guarantee you he's going to be starting because they are not going to play Terrell Bernard against Carolina either. So, he might get the call again. Who the hell knows what's going on with Baylon Spector? Anyway,
do we have any? Is there any undrafted linebackers we can think of in like the annals of history? I'm trying to think. Like, did the Bills ever have a linebacker who was like undrafted who started? Like,
I'm sure they have. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know. That'll be some homework. Actually,
John DeGiorgio, Brandon Spoon. I'm just trying to think of those guys.
For sure. I want to take a real quick break. Come back like 5 seconds from now on the video side anyway, and so his stock is way up. I want to talk about one guy whose stock is way down. And then we got some more general Bills takes as well. All right, I am back here live on the video side anyway with Joe from Queens. All right, so we're talking up Joe Andreesson. Actually, that was kind of the reaction that I would have expected. You're skeptical, but as long as you give him his props for stepping up.
Yeah, like I don't want to be too big of a
advantage of an
I
opportunity.
don't want to be too big of a curmudgeon. Like I get it, like in terms of it's a good story, hometown guy. If he makes the 53, like I don't as a podcaster, I don't judge trying to figure out the 53-man roster is one of those things I just don't have zero interest in. I know a lot of people have interest in that. I get it. It's not one of my jams. So if he makes the roster, great. Do I think he's going to have an impact on this roster? No. Right. But it's a good story. I just hope it doesn't get out of proportion where idiots start thinking this guy's starting or he's going to play 20 defensive snaps a game. And I know he is going to get pumped up like this week. Like everyone loves the local guy here. Everyone does. I mean, I make fun of the D-list celebrities that the Bills trot out who have some sort of Buffalo connection.
That guy. By the way, I saw him on TikTok this past week. That how you doing guy? How you doing?
Oh, the Italian guy that was with
yeah.
Milano? I blame him for the Milano injury. I didn't know who the fuck that guy was. And then Milano
either,
smiles at him and he got him injured probably. But no,
Actually, he's kind of funny, though. I was looking some of his shit
They
up
had
on,
some barbecue guy on recently that the Bills like endorsed. I was like, who the fuck are these people? I don't know. I'm just like, you guys need to get a different PR person to freaking
I don't know.
Promote them better. Like,
it's gonna be an interesting week, and we'll find out. We'll find out in about 8 days from now or so if he does make the initial 53-man roster. Be careful though with that proclamation that he ain't gonna end up being shit. I'm telling you, a year or so ago, Terrell Bernard was gonna be the starter. I was like, this is absolutely
but you didn't
absurd.
see.
And if I would have went back and played my takes from a year ago right now about Terrell Bernard. I would look like I called myself out for looking like an idiot.
Well, you were, and I was actually one of those guys but I was one of those guys who said when we were still podcasting at the point, like, give Bernard a chance. He's a 3rd round pick. Like, if you're a 3rd round pick, you're not talentless. Being undrafted, to me, being undrafted is different. Also, Bernard didn't play the preseason at all. And then, like, yeah, he was good. So I view it as a 3rd rounder. Yeah, I can see a 3rd rounder making an impact. An undrafted guy.
One final quick thing about Joe Andreesson. Then I want to get to other topics because we're way into this show and we pretty much have talked about one thing. But
fall into the trap.
These guys do this for a living, and they got dozens in some cases of people on their staff who evaluate players. 31 other teams, 32 if you count Buffalo. Actually, you should count Buffalo. 32 teams watched this guy's film in college and said he was not worth a draft pick, and he was not worth. He wasn't worth an undrafted.
Okay.
Who gives a shit, bro? He had a preseason. He had an opportunity. He played. Did he not do enough to make you say, how did some GM around the league not see this guy and say, oh, he's at least worth having on our 90-man roster for training camp? Nobody even besides the Bills after a tryout even considered this guy a guy who's an undrafted free agent. We're not even going to sign him as an undrafted free agent. Nobody.
It's one game, dude. Like, fine.
He's played better than just one game. This was the culmination of him being really good for a couple months now.
You know, Brandon Riley had some great games too in the preseason.
I knew you were going to bring him
up. And how could those GMs have let that guy slip through their fingers? Fine. I mean, but just don't get it.
Brandon Riley was at least an undrafted free agent. This guy wasn't even signed as after the draft by anybody.
He was still undrafted though. I don't know. I'm not buying it. I already saw your boy Batavia Jobber saying he looked like a 10-year pro. I like Thad Brown a lot, but Thad Brown's trying to compare him to Lynn Sanity, and I like Thad. Like, give me a break. Like, everyone needs to chill a little bit, okay? I know it's Bill's ex. I know we got the blue-collar, high-motor guy, and, like, it's a nice story, but let's not start fucking, like,
comment from the gallery. Yeah, too much useless info from the get-go. Right. You know, I love that stuff too. You got to have your haters. I mean, literally, the title of the podcast is talking about a Cinderella.
No, I agree with the hater.
But you know what we're going to talk about on the show. Yet people still call it useless.
I agree with the hater. We shouldn't be talking about this. This doesn't matter.
So let's move on then. I want to move on because his stock's way up. Stock way down. Way down.
Go ahead.
Mitch Trubisky. I mean, you're in one of those. You're not going to let me get a full sentence mode in, aren't you? You just.
I agree with that guy who said this was garbage and we take too long. Go ahead.
I'm sure you would, dude. Fellow curmudgeons sticking together there. Yeah. Stock way down. Mitch Trubisky. Dude, he sucks. All right, he sucked. I put out a tweet, embarrassingly enough, a day or two before the game. I went through ESPN.com. I looked at 32 depth charts, and I'm kind of keeping a little bit of a running list. And I'm like, you know what? Mitch Trubisky is, at worst, a top 5 to 10 backup quarterback in this league right now compared to his peers around the league. But guess what? He sucks. He stinks, dude. He was pitiful against Pittsburgh. He has looked awful all summer long. He's a name, a high draft pick, a former starter. I get all that, but he's nothing more than a name recognition dude at this point. I think he's part of the reason why, at least in part, why we're not learning more about the back end and these wide receivers, because nobody fucking can throw them an accurate pass, whether it's training camp or especially a preseason game. Kyle Allen, by the way, we played the Steelers on Saturday. Kyle Allen, not we. The Bills played the Steelers. I hate when we say
look at you, Mr. Objective over here.
No, but I didn't play. Anyway, Kyle Allen is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He ain't going to make that roster. They got Fields. They got Wilson. They got their 2 guys. They're not going to roster 3 quarterbacks. He'll probably go to the practice squad. Do not be surprised if the Bills come calling for Kyle Allen and they bring him back. Another one of Josh's boys. But anyway, this guy has been shit literally all of training camp and all the preseason.
Why would you want Kyle Allen, though? He sucks too. Like, why are we saying? I hate these topics. I hate them. We talk about this blue collar.
Here's why.
And now we're talking about the backup quarterback.
Here's why. Because everybody says, and it's right. If Josh Allen goes down with any significant injury, the season's over.
Sure.
Of course. You're not going to get an argument from me there. Same thing with a lot of great quarterbacks around the league and their backups. But if your guy goes down 2 to 3 games, it's not unreasonable to think you should have a quarterback who can go 2-1 over 3 games if you're playing the right teams on his schedule right now. I don't think Mitch Trubisky could look good against anybody right now in the NFL. At this point, I think that's how bad he is. So Kyle Allen, addition by subtraction is literally what I'm telling you. I'm not a big guy. I think Kyle Allen sucks too. But Mitch Trubisky, really, he's terrible. He's awful. And I do not see any scenario where he gets better. He holds on to the ball for too long. He's indecisive. Not even look like he knows what he's doing out there. And he hurt his knee too on Saturday. So who knows what happens with that?
Look, I don't know. I've always adapted the philosophy that all backup quarterbacks are terrible. And I just don't. If, as you said, if Josh goes down, they're in trouble. Who's a good backup, like what, Gardner Minshew, who's now starting for the Raiders now, so he's not even a backup quarterback anymore.
He's starting.
Yeah, exactly. Like Darnold maybe, and Darnold's now starting, and like it's a bad. You just pray that the backup quarterback doesn't get into. I definitely get like why you would think like Mitch Trubisky is a top 10 backup quarterback. He is, statistically probably speaking. He started, but when he started, he's been terrible. And I feel this is going off topic a little bit, but man, can you imagine being a Bears fan and like you passed on Mahomes and Watson, and I know Watson's not as good as he used to be, to draft that guy over those 2 guys, and you traded up for him, and that guy is just wickedly terrible. But
he's an all-time draft bust.
Yeah, and the funny thing was he had one of those
given that they moved up and given where he was drafted.
And if you looked at, I think his second year, it's when they made the playoffs. And if you look at his numbers, the second year, I think he had like 26 touchdowns and like 12 picks. He looked good. Or if you just box score scout him, he looked good. But if you watch the games, he wasn't very good. He's kind of had that Mark Sanchez in terms of that. But look, I don't really care who the backup quarterback is. I think you can't put shit back in the donkey. Like they've already made this decision. Getting Kyle Allen, like that's putting a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound.
If Josh goes down,
I'm saying I get that. I'm saying in terms of I don't think Kyle Allen is better than Mitch Trubisky. But we're comparing shit versus donkey.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like it's just not. It's something that he has looked bad.
I got somebody in the chat who's giving it to me, rightfully so. I'll admit it. Maybe an overreaction. Josh Allen Truther, he says, we do this every year with the preseason. Brock Purdy looks terrible. The Chiefs' first team has scored a touchdown. LOL. I hate preseason.
Sucks.
Mr. Risky's 31-26. Okay, I get that. I don't know. I've watched him 4 times at practice this summer. I've watched him in the preseason now, and I know how terrible he was with the Steelers.
Look, he was terrible. He got booed on the field when he came on there, even though some people in the media tried to say they were booing because Josh Allen was just starting, which was hilarious, but I digress. But yeah, Mitch is not a good quarterback. But as I said, a lot of backup quarterbacks just aren't. I would always err on this side of like, I would love there to be a study. What's the ideal? Like, how do you feel a backup quarterback slot? Because I have them to be someone who says, draft a guy in the 4th or 5th round, and see what happens. Because he could play and he starts really good, and then you can flip that guy and rip off someone like I think of Matt Schwab, or Rob Johnson, even way back in the day, like a guy who like was a middle pick. He plays a little bit, and then like he looks okay, and then you can rip off some desperate team who wants a young up and coming guy. Like I've kind of adapted. Like I'd rather have that kind of formula. I think they tried to do it with Jake Fromm maybe a little bit, but that didn't work out. But either way, I don't. It doesn't move. We do this every offseason. Like I said, we always overanalyze the backup quarterback. But I agree, he's not very good. Okay,
he's not very good. Comment from Carly in the crowd too. We don't have a good enough O-line to have a quarterback who holds on to the football for 12 minutes. That's his biggest problem, dude. He does hold on to the football for too long.
Yeah.
In terms of a backup, look, I'm starting to really feel that the Bills need to draft somebody rounds 4, 5, 6, even if it's got to be every year until you get a guy that you could really develop. So far, this has been the Josh Allen's boys club. Like every backup quarterback has been his boy over the last handful of years.
Well, it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is. And they,
how do we not talk about Ben DiNucci by this point, by the way?
Oh, God. I turned off the game at Ben DiNucci. I was done.
He was unwatchable. Now, in fairness, he literally just signed with the team. So
well, it's always
I don't know what you were expecting to even try to do with him. But,
the backups, you always want the backups. I guess, you want the friend thing. But you always want, I think you want, I think of the Chiefs. The Chiefs had Chad Henne for a while. Chad Henne knew the system. You want that guy who knows, in that case, Andy Reid's system. In this case, it being Carolina's system. I don't even know what, Brady has his own system. I don't really know what it is yet, to be honest with you. But you probably want someone get Teddy Bridgewater out of retirement, because he played with it. He was the quarterback there, when he had it. That's kind of probably what you want. I don't know about this Josh Allen friend shit. I mean, they definitely do like having him.
He's got his boys on the team. Look,
he's got his boys on the team.
People rightfully so in the comments, rightfully so. Reaction. I'm sure people are listening to this on Monday are going to probably feel the same kind of way. Spending a lot of time talking about a guy. I just wanted to point out that I thought he was fucking the shits on Saturday. And at the end of the day, we could have wrapped this up in 30 seconds saying,
we're long-winded.
If something happens to Josh Allen,
we're long-winded. We're long-winded. We long-winded. This is what happened. No, I am too. And I like to tell you to shut up a lot. And even though we keep talking. So, all right, what's the next on the topic?
The wide receivers, man.
My favorite.
There's an I'll admit it now. There's an absolute uncertainty at this point beyond Shakir and Samuel.
Preseason's
messing
with you a little bit. Preseason's messing with you.
Yeah, no, it's not. Well, maybe a little.
Messing with you. You were all hyped up about the
I was not all that hyped.
You were like Shakir, 100 catches. Okay,
I did not.
200 catches.
No, go ahead. Stop. Curtis Samuel, by the way, on Monday last week, he didn't practice, and they said a veteran rest day. Then he didn't practice Tuesday. Great. Did not participate in the scrimmage, and did not play, obviously, in the game on Saturday. I really hope that he ends up being all right. Keon Coleman, real quick here. He's been all right from what I've seen. And I'm talking about training camp too. Highlight guy, makes a couple great catches, but I don't know, man. There was the play during the game, and I know you saw it. A lot of people who watched the game, you saw it. Mitch Trubisky threw a shit pass, but it was catchable, and he really didn't sell out to catch it. A little bit of alligator arms. A lot of discourse on social media on Sunday if he should have laid out to try to get it. One side says, well, it's preseason, which got really, risking getting his ribs lit up and shit.
I'm on that side, to be honest with you. It's preseason. Let's not
and then there's another side where it's like, you got a lot to prove, man. You haven't really done shit in this league. Make the catch, make a play.
Yeah, I'm on now. Then
well, I got to tell you, man.
Uh-oh.
We keep going, and we're not. It's unavoidable. Stephon Diggs does something. We're going to talk about it. Xavier Worthy does something, which he absolutely did on Saturday. 2 big catches for the Chiefs. We're going to talk about it. Keon Coleman, look, we know he's a big guy, but there's parts of his game that are, there's a reason why not too many people were so high on Keon Coleman pre-draft about him being a Buffalo Bill, struggling with separation. He's a big body guy, makes tough catches, but he's not getting open. And we saw the first game. Who the hell did they play in the first game? I already forgot. Who the hell did they play last week?
Chicago.
Yeah, he got tied up pretty well twice. This week, a catchable pass, a bad pass, but one he should have caught. Let me give you a prediction here. I'll just wrap it up by saying this with him. Matt Collins is going to start ahead of Keon Coleman, and I think Matt Collins is going to play
God,
significantly more potentially snaps the first half of the season than Keon Coleman.
You are panicking. Because you're panicking already. You're panicking. This. Do I have to have another intervention with you, buddy? You're panicking. And look, I'm not saying could Keon Coleman? I still think he's the guy who's going to be their number 2, 3 wide receiver. I think Coleman is. I still think he's going to be like that 3 guy. I don't think it's going to be your boy. I don't think it's going to be the hippie wide receiver. But
who might.
What'd you say? Who hates cats? Yeah, don't get me started on that.
You got a bias against him. You admitted
it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I did.
He fucking bias against Matt Collins.
Call the SPCA and get him out of Buffalo. No, I kid, kind of. You're letting the preseason get to you. You're letting training camp get to your head right now. Wait until it plays out. I still think they want Coleman to play. I really do. I think they want to prove that they don't need Stephon Diggs, excuse me. I think they want him to play. That is how I feel. I can't see Return of the Mac, who hates cats, taking his spot. I just can't. But it's still early. It's still, and look again. When I say take his spot, it doesn't mean like he's going to play a bunch of snaps. I still think they're going to be a 12 personnel team. I think it's going to be Samuel, Shakir on the field as the wideouts. They'll have a little mix-in packages here and there. I think it's too early to panic about Coleman. And also, like, I will say this, though. He did play, I was listening to your buddy Ace Ventura podcast this week, and he talked a little bit about how, like, it's very important that you Ace Ventura.
Bruce Nolan?
Yeah, I don't care. I'm using his other name that I give to him because I'm the king of nicknames. Anyways, I digress. He was talking about how, like, you have to view guys when they play, like, who they're playing with. And are they playing like deep into the third quarter, fourth quarter? And like it got me thinking, and I saw someone tweet out like Coleman played like a lot on Saturday in comparison to the other wide receivers.
Yes.
And you could view that as, oh shit, they may view him kind of on the negative side a little bit. Like this is I care more how the Bills view them, not how you view them, because you're already panicking over the preseason. It's a possibility, like, yeah, it is. I don't think it I still believe he's going to be that third guy. Like when you look at the snap counts, it's still going to be Samuel and Shakir, and he's going to be the third guy who takes a lot of snaps. But
I think it's going to be Mac Hollins.
Yeah, you've been on that guy's jock all off.
It's not that. And look, in fairness to you and the peanut gallery that are saying I'm panicking, which to some extent you're right. I'll give you that. But when it comes to Keon Coleman, I had questions about him pre-draft.
Sure,
I questioned it in April, and I'm questioning it today. I don't think.
But you weren't questioning it before, though. You see, this is what happened. You got infiltrated by the content people that were piping him up, and then you believed in that, and now you're panicking. You're trying to get back. And you can change. No one's saying you have to go down with the ship, but I don't think you should go down with the ship or up with the ship because of preseason or training camp. I think. Right. I still think they want to get him the ball, but I know they want him. But I think they want him to develop more. Why do they care about the hippie guy? Like they don't care about him. Like he's there to fucking.
I think you're wrong. I think
cats at this point.
Probably might be a captain. Mac Hollins might be a captain.
Captain of what? The fucking.
He might be a captain.
Imperial Pizza? What? What's he going to be the captain?
He might be a captain on this team. I'm telling you, they like him
for special teams. Maybe
starting. No. As a top 3 receiver,
well, he might captain like he's going to win the seat. Like he's going to come out for the coin toss.
This is a guy who had almost 700 yards receiving 2 years ago with the Raiders.
I know. You love him.
Okay. He's a good blocker, and he's a good special teams player. He's a lot better than Trent Sherfield last year. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess maybe you're right because I do have to see.
But look, it is. I think you have to. I'm talking a little bit out of both sides of my ass a little bit here because a month and a half ago, I was not really counting on Coleman. He's a rookie, a second rounder. Yeah, it's kind of look. There's some guys who are rookies who come in and they're impact guys right away, and there's guys who don't do a damn thing. And I don't know where he's going to be at. He's a second rounder. He's a 7th wide receiver picked or whatever the fuck he was. But I don't think you should panic again. And this is what I'm going to say next week when we're doing this again after the Carolina game and you're panicking. And
I'm not watching everyone. I'm not even watching the game next week.
Good.
Well, not because I don't want to. I got a family reunion thing. I'll talk about that throughout the week. But anyway, not watching the game. All right, look, at the end of the game.
But either way, no one should panic. Sorry, no one should panic or get hyped up or get down because of preseason. I don't care. I'll say it till the day I die.
The top 4, look, if you want to put him up, whether he's 3 or 4, if he's in the top 4, I'm not going to fight you on that one, okay?
Sure.
So Samuel, Shakir, Coleman, Mac Hollins, whatever order you want to put him in, whatever you want to shuffle the deck, fine. The top 4, that's your top 4. It may not matter the rest, but I will say I have been completely underwhelmed this entire process with the back end. MBS got hurt. Looks like he's going to be okay, but he's been pretty lousy this summer. But you know what he is. He's a veteran. I kind of feel like you know what you're going to get. Does he make the team? I don't know. They're going to have to keep 6 receivers, though, because he's the 5th receiver with no special teams value. I don't see him making a team for that. Shavers has been, had a couple plays here and there, but he's just been KJ Hamler playing late in the 4th quarter did not return a kick or punt. I think his spot is in big trouble on this team. Justin Shorter really hasn't done shit. Andy Isabella hasn't really done shit. Chase Claypool's already gone. This is not a deep wide receiver room. I mean, I'm not breaking that.
I've been saying that for the last
not a very good
5 years, and they decided to blow up the wide receiver room to make me even more annoyed. But
Keon Coleman's upside, and maybe Samuel playing with a great quarterback, and Shakir progressing, that might give you hope that the receivers could be good. But yeah, man, this is not a sexy wide receiver room.
You have to just hope this is like the Chiefs, where the Chiefs have shitty wide receivers and they have Travis Kelce. And you have to hope Dalton Kincaid is Travis Kelce. And Dawson Knox helps out somehow. That's really what I'm at in terms of like the passing game, like the pass catchers. I'm not, and Shakir's good. I'll give Shakir some love. He's a good dude. In terms of like, I do think he'll get to like 1,000 yards, close to it. I really do, because Josh has to throw it to some wide receiver. But I think the way this offense goes is it's going to be about Kincaid in terms of the passing game.
It needs to be, and he is the guy. He could be a top 3 tight end, and that feels realistic. Projecting Keon Coleman to be a great receiver in this league, to me, it could happen, but that feels like a lot of projection. To say Dalton Kincaid is going to be a great tight end, I don't think that's much of a projection. I kind of feel like that's where he's been headed. Real quick, I want to get to a few other things. Jaquan Hardy, the rookie, 6th-round rookie, he returned all the punts, 5 of them. Mm-hmm. He played well. He played a lot of corner, boundary corner. I think he's making this team.
Sure, make the team.
Think he showed. Finally, we saw something on special teams positive. In terms of studs for the game, I have Hardy up there, obviously, and Andreessen. Dude, Groot. Greg Rousseau, 2 sacks. And
we should have talked about that in the beginning instead of talking about the fucking other guy.
Was it Broderick, that a high draft pick for the Steelers a year or 2 ago? Holy shit, did that right tackle get beat up by Groot? But anyway, Groot was great. Javon Sullivan, the 5th-round rookie, he continues to flash and do some good things. He's made some good run stops. He showed up on special teams, and he gets after the quarterback. He's making this roster. And the Bills ran the ball a little bit better. I told you last week, I wanted to see a little bit of semblance of a running game. Ray Davis had, I think, 58 yards on 8 carries, 20 tackles. Played a lot earlier in the game, too. James Cook looked pretty good. Those are your studs. The duds, Trubisky, again, he sucked. Coleman, not making that catch. I feel like he should have made that catch. La'el Collins, I think that dude is washed. Shavers trying to make this team. He had 2 penalties on special teams. That hurt him. I got to go back and watch the offensive line a little bit more. I don't want to react until
you gotta go back to watch this game, dude.
I'd like to watch the offensive line. I didn't like what I saw with the naked eye from Osiris Torrance. Didn't look like
just steal Aaron Quinn's takes and then do the opposite, and then pretend so you can pretend you watched it. But I digress. I'll just add a couple of things to that. Rousseau looked great. The first sack where he threw that offensive lineman into
that was wild.
Russell was wild. Look. There needs to be this is a big year for him. Like he's going to be, a free agent after next year, because that's the 5th-year option comes in next year.
Yep.
Like they need an edge rusher, like to come in and just be a monster. I don't know if it's going to be him. Like, he's
got to be the guy this year. He's got to be, man.
Yeah, they need someone, but like he looked he looked
not
good
someone him.
Yeah,
they need him.
Who else is there? I mean, I still don't. I don't have faith with Vaughn's.
Me neither. That's what I'm saying. And AJ Epinesa is a decent player. You know what you're going to get with him, though. You're going to get 6 to 8, 9 sacks with AJ Epinesa. Rizzo's the one who's got the stealing. 6 to 9. Groot's the one. He's had 6.5 the last 2 years, and he's played 45% of the snaps. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so,
but Greg Rizzo's the guy who his ceiling is 10 to 14 sacks type player. Game-changing type plays too. He's got that ceiling. He's got to be, when the season's over, we're doing like, hey, the MVP of this team, not counting Josh Allen. Greg Rizzo needs to be in the conversation if the Buffalo Bills are going to be in the mix. I feel like he can't just be okay this year.
Yeah, I agree, and that will help with the offsetting of Matt Milano's injury. Like get a stud pass rush, and
sure
they need some guys to really step up. But he was definitely like. He had some nice plays that were definitely fun, even though it's still preseason, but it was fun to see that.
Before we get out of here, terms of the game itself, now again, you didn't even watch the broadcast. Like I said, you caught the.
Can we go back?
Steelers
I'm sorry
version.
if you're about to wrap. Let's go. Bills
I wasn't
offensive
rapping,
line.
but I had another topic. But go ahead.
You were going to go to the TV stuff, but I wanted to go to because you had the offensive line. Some bad, like I know Mitch held the ball a little bit and a few different times, but I thought a couple of sacks. You had the guard play was a little bit suspect on the beginning part. Like Torrance wasn't, he kind of had like a couple of bad, moments as well.
Yes, I'm laughing when you're saying that. You're not wrong at all, but I'm laughing when you're saying it because it kind of leads into the TV part of what I was talking about. No, you're right though. But yeah, the offensive line looked shaky. Let's go there. Actually, let's go there.
Pass catching was a little, or pass blocking was a little weird, but it's
but a lot of that was Trubisky, man, dude. He just holds the ball for too long. But anyway, this is what I wanted to say. Well, 2 points. Number one, the TV broadcast of this game was one of the worst I've ever seen, ever. It was awful. Not because I can't speak on the announcers who are the local people. I know that. I can't remember the play-by-play guy name. I know Tasker's on doing color. Maddie Gabb, I'm going to get to her in a second. There was a sideline reporter on the TV side. But anyway, I'm not talking about the job that they said, what they said or didn't say. I'm talking about the production itself. There were at least 5-6 plays on the Bills telecast where I was like, oh, somebody screwed up or whatever. I need to see this again. Some of it was the offensive line. I thought it was Osiris Torrance who whipped on a block that led to a 3rd down sack. Sure enough, no fucking replay. This happened 6-7 times. I was screaming at the TV. Now, I was at a bar watching the game with a couple buddies, and you could vaguely hear the sound because, the crowd is a little bit louder than the volume on the TV. So I really couldn't hear it, but I was screaming at the TV. Where's the replay? So many times during this game, and especially it seemed when the Bills, something bad happened, they didn't even bother to show a replay. It was straight up pissing me off. There were a couple of pass protection breakdowns. I'm telling you, I don't want to talk about the offensive line because I need to go back and rewatch the game. Well, I need to because when you watch the fucking telecast, there were no replays to be able to go back and say, oh, yeah, that was definitely Torrance who missed this guy or Spencer Brown screwed up here. That broadcast was terrible from a production standpoint. I'm not talking about the people in the booth.
I don't know. I got to ask around like how that works with like local crews, and because obviously that's a Buffalo Bills production. That's not like a CBS production or whatever it was. That's like the Bills. That's the Bills who hire those people. And
ask them why they don't show replays enough. It's brutal. And you know what? Maybe you were talking about Houston earlier. It always seemed conveniently like there was no replay available when it would be something bad that the Bills did, a negative play, a sack.
That's definitely it's one Bill.
Yeah. Well, it was very frustrating, man. It was very frustrating to watch that broadcast and not be able to watch replays. Several I thought were significant plays of the game didn't even end up having a replay, and that was really freaking annoying. Last point though, related to that game. No, I know you saw me tweet about this too. I tweeted at him. I thought it was bullshit. I thought it was a Bush League thing to say. Alan Pergman from the Buffalo News, longtime critic, review critic, has been there forever.
Did you know real quick? Did you know we wouldn't respect the work thing? He used to be a Bills. He used to be a Bills beat guy back in the 70s and 80s. He was a Bills beat guy. No. Yep, that's what he did.
I read his shit. I mean, he's always right because he's writing about local media and stuff like that. So I always read his stuff. I've read his reviews through the years, movie reviews, TV show reviews, stuff like that. I've never had an issue with him. I've never had a conversation with him in my life. I don't know him. My whole point is that I've respected his work. Let's call it like a John Worrell situation. Me and John ain't friends, but I respect the career that John's always had, and I'll never badmouth that. When it comes to John, I kind of feel the same way about Allen. But anyway, Maddie Glab, again, who I couldn't even hear it on the sideline, but he's not a fan. And he said her voice, or he said something, do I need to actually look up the tweet so I can make sure I say it properly and that I don't put words in somebody else's mouth? I'm going to pull it up because I want to this is important to me. I kind of want to make sure that I don't screw this up.
Sure.
Let me see. Well, while I'm looking this up,
I can talk about the beer I'm drinking right now because I did it in the beginning because we had to go and talk about the fucking blue-collar white linebacker.
I found it already.
Heady Topper is what I'm having. It's his 20th anniversary. It's in Vermont. You only can drink this out of a can, and you would hate it. It's a really, really IPA, like old school IPA. So
it was
anyways,
Andrew
go ahead.
Catalan. All right. Andrew Catalan's a play-by-play guy and was Tasker on color and Matty Glab on the sideline. Okay. And again, I didn't really get to listen to them. And my personal beef wasn't with any of them. It was with the production side.
The production crew.
Right.
Like
But Alan Pergament says, and this is during the game, I don't ask much from sideline reporters, just that their voice isn't fingernails on a chalkboard. And I just thought that was an absolutely shitty thing to say. Like, if you're a reviewer and you don't like the job someone's doing, maybe you could have a little more professional, sensitive, personal type of way to be critical of somebody. She's new, and everybody knows that she's brand new. This is her first gig doing TV sideline stuff, especially for an NFL team. And again, I don't know how she performed. I'm not going to speak on that because I didn't listen to it. Again, it was kind of just background noise to me at the bar. But that's a shitty way to say something, man. I took issue with that. I took issue with it on Twitter, and I'm taking issue with it on the show. Like, you could be critical of someone and kind of not be an asshole about it. And I felt like that was an asshole thing to say.
I wish you would have at least said her name, because it's like when you're watching that, like, he could be talking about Sal Capaccio because he says sideline report. I'm not trying to shit on Sal. I'm just saying, like, he doesn't like say her name. Like, you're
I know what you're saying.
You're a TV critic. Like, say the fucking name, because I don't, like, you're saying sideline. You could be listening to the radio. You could be listening to the freaking telecast. With that being said, I've talked to a couple of people that work in the TV market there. He's always been very, very harsh on women in that market, reporters, and it doesn't go unknown, or it does unnoticed, if you will. I've only listened to Matty Glab a couple different times in my, I don't listen. I listened to her podcast when she had Kim Bagul on a couple times. I didn't have any issue with her voice. Obviously, I have an issue with a lot of context that comes out of that fucking organization with the paid for media stuff. But in terms of her voice, I think her voice is fine. So, and but I, like you, I did not listen to it.
But even if it's not, even if she's terrible,
exactly.
just the way there's a better way to go about things. That's just a shit way to address something.
Well, he that's kind of how he's in. He's very
again.
hard.
I don't know him. I don't know what you seem to know more about his reputation.
He used to be a buff. I don't know if he still is.
I know Tim Bradman's went at him plenty of times. I've seen that. I mean,
but
I'm not telling you something that's not public. That's been very
GR
public.
people don't like him either. He's always been. I mean, I've
read comments like that. I can understand. Again,
no, I don't think it was
a way of saying something.
Yeah, I think he's always been. There are some things I've read his stuff where I agree with him. Like, he's very big on, like, don't be a homer, don't wear a Bills sweater if you're doing the news, which I agree with.
I do too.
But there are some things.
I respect a lot of his work, man.
But that's just shit. Oh God, relax. He's a TV critic. He's not covering the Iraq war.
I've read
over
him.
here.
He's somebody that I've read for a long time, for a lot of years.
Maybe he'll review us to get back at us.
Probably will.
That'd be awesome. I would totally pay for that.
Probably will. And he's probably going to use the worst terminology imaginable to talk about this podcast. I mean, to be fair, I did say the way he said it was an asshole thing to do and a dickhead thing to do. So kind of fired some shots or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if she did a good job of that.
Let me ask you this. If he had an issue with her voice, which he did, what would have been? Could he say, like, I have an issue with her voice?
Yes.
So you don't think he would get shit?
Make it sound more professional. Nails on a chalkboard is just it's a stab at somebody.
So if he said, like, she has a high-pitched voice, I'm making this up.
Her voice isn't for me. I don't know. He's the profession who can come up with the words. He's a journalist. He should be able to, but come up with a little more humanizing way of saying that you're not happy with the job somebody's doing. To basically say that their voice is nails on a chalkboard. I don't know. Maybe some people out there are going to disagree and say that's his job. He's supposed to be impartial, which, again, I'm not mad at him for criticizing or even saying that somebody's not good. It's just you're a professional journalist. Find fucking better words to voice your displeasure with the job someone's doing. Got anything else before we bounce?
By the way,
about 750 people on the video side catching us live tonight. Pretty cool stuff. So if you are watching this live on the video side Sunday night, I do appreciate that.
I hope you liked my beer review that I gave 20 seconds. I've been watching. I've been binge watching Cobra Kai. Still, I'm on like season 4 with Terry Silver. Let me just say, I don't know what I've always. Eddie Murphy used to always make this joke that if you're Italian and you watch Rocky and afterwards you want to fight people, and I'm Italian and you want to fight people, like, oh, I want to box. Every time I see Karate Kid and like, especially like the nostalgia, that makes me want to like do karate, especially like the music, like the karate, like the music. I always love the music from the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, but I'm not talking about like the soundtrack, like the 80s music. I'm talking like the orchestra. I think the guy who did the soundtrack. Yeah, the scores. Yeah, I think the guy who did that did the Rocky stuff. But like the one song is like I love that song. I like it puts me in like a good mood where I'm like, oh yeah, like that's like I want to listen to that song while working, or I'm like walking down the street, and you know, it's like the Daniel LaRusso victory song. But that's all I've been doing. I've been binging that, and I'm I'll be a week away from when I get to the premiere of last season. Real quick, and then we get the hell out of here. Did you like the first half of this season
of Cobra Kai?
Yes, because I
watched it twice.
Oh, twice. Wow.
I think I liked it more the first time. Well, the first time I liked it, I said this might be the best half season I've seen.
Really?
And a lot of people were being critical of it.
Really?
I ended up going back and rewatching it again, kind of like background while I was working in the office. So I wasn't locked in as much. But
office, yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting. It's going to drag because it's 3 parts, the final season.
It's 3 parts?
Yeah, there's 3 parts. So this season, part 1 already dropped.
Yeah.
Which you haven't gotten to. Part 2 is dropping in November. And then I heard the final 5 episodes is
that's
like in February of next year, February 2025. So
I didn't know. I knew it was 2 parts.
And there's a movie coming out too next summer, I believe.
That's great. I love that series. It's so terrible. Look, there's some, like we've talked about, the far-fetched, like these kids are like ninjas and like kicking people's asses, and I'm like, I've seen 16-year-olds, they're not kicking my ass, but it's such a fun show. I love Johnny.
I love the show too, man. Nobody loves nostalgia more than I do. Trust me. I love.
Yeah, you're an old man. Yeah,
hold at my nostalgia strings. I want to put you. I'm going to clip this. All right, folks. I'm going to clip this.
Oh no.
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Great.
Okay. One more preseason game. Cuts come next week.
Thank God.
If do you agree? If Joe Andreesson makes the 53-man roster,
not this guy again. Yeah.
And he starts a game for the Bills, you agree to immediately go on Bills.com or Fanatics.com and go get an Joe Andreesson 44 jersey?
No.
Why not? You're talking all this shit about a Cinderella story. Buy his jersey if it actually the Cinderella story comes true. You think the Cinderella story is going to end up not mattering and meaning shit.
Okay.
If he makes this roster.
No.
And I'm even saying if he starts a game, if he makes the roster, that's not enough. You'll say, whoa, he made the team. I'm really surprised. Yada, yada. If he starts a game, you said he's not going to matter. If he starts a game, you go get a Joe Andreesson jersey.
No. First off, this is the worst clip thing you've ever done ever.
Well, it is now because you're not agreeing to it.
No, because, it is. First off, it's about economics of the situation. I'm a new father. I'm not spending $120 fucking dollars on a fucking number 44 jersey, where the fuck his number is, on a guy who can't spell Anderson right. No. Okay. So that's not. Now, if it's like if you wanted to put something up like, okay, Joe, if you come on, if he makes a team and starts a game and I have to like come on here and completely agree with every one of your takes and be nice.
You put a Joe Andreesson cardboard poster or something behind you on your wall.
Yes, I will do that. Okay, yes, I will do that. If he starts a game this season, I will put like some sort of fucking cardboard thing on my blob fucking wall here that you'll have to buy. I'm not putting money into this fucking show, buddy. Like, I don't know, what do you think? I'm a billionaire over here? Like, you're lucky I bought this microphone for you. And you still bitched about the microphone when I bought it too. But yeah, I will buy here. You did, yeah, because you're a know-it-all. I will buy his number 4 or his whatever. I'll have like a painting here. Yeah, whatever the fuck his number is. I'll draw something on a piece of paper, put it here, have his name spelled correctly, because he's not doing that. He's not going to start more than one game this year.
All right. Well, I'm look, him starting a game is a huge stretch. Okay, that is admittedly a big stretch, which is why I said the jersey thing. I do not think him making this football team is a stretch anymore whatsoever. And you'll be in that next week. We'll talk. We're going to know next week. So I'm looking
We should have
forward to
ended
it.
this on Cobra Kai, not on this dude.
I
again.
agree. I agree.
all
We're
you
going to
just-
end this on Cobra Kai. Cobra
Just kick
Kai.
out the stunner like 6 times in a row, and then we're gonna do another stunner.
All right. All right. For Joe from Queens, I'm Patrick. Thank you for
He's
listening.
a good-looking dude from this picture, by the way. I'm a little jealous. Like he's a good look. I like the hair. Good looking out. Yeah.
All right, guys. Be back. Brand new show. Talk to you tomorrow.